better chance of that. Good luck picking winners. We'll see you tomorrow. Outside the Lines, NFL Live is next.
Here we go, 7:18 a.m. Our Adam Schefter and Seth Wickersham reporting that the Steelers' minority owner, David Tepper, is expected to sign the agreement to buy the Carolina Panthers today. The deal is still pending approval from the NFL owners. And coming up, we will examine Tom Brady's absence to this point from the Patriots offseason program. Our Patriots insider will join us. And all week, we are counting down the top 10 games of 2017. Today, it will be games 8 and 7. But first, we could not be more gassed up to welcome a new member to the NFL on ESPN family. Take a look.
You fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. You want to rip a team's heart out? Run it down their throat. We are rewriting the book. Oh, keep fighting. Let me clear my throat. Let me catch my breath. Let my heart beat out till there's nothing left. It ain't always beautiful. It ain't always pretty, but you find a way to get it done, and you did.
Welcome to NFL Live. You see Coach there. We have three-time Super Bowl champ Darren Woodson, the legend Chris Mortensen, and 16-year NFL head coach, 3 different clubs, 2 of which he took to the Super Bowl. The coach, John Fox. Coach, welcome to the show.
Well, proud to be here and excited to work with you guys and looking forward to my first show.
You got a good seat right there.
I'm still waiting for a list from Peyton Manning on pranks I could pull on that he hasn't pulled on yet.
Oh, he's got a long list, trust me. Very experienced at that matter.
Yes. Big blockbuster news right out of the gate. Carolina Panthers have a new owner. More, what's the latest?
It will be Dave Tepper, a hedge fund manager who's worth $11 billion. That's billion dollars. He's buying this team, the Panthers, for $2.2 billion. Term sheet was being signed today, and it will be approved at the owners' meetings in Atlanta next week. And why would it be such a clean process? Because he's a 5% minority owner of the Steelers, so he's been through the vetting process. So as far as Panthers fans are concerned, the team is anchored in Charlotte. No expectations that it would be any place else but Charlotte.
Coach, you have spent plenty of time in Carolina. You know all about this franchise. What's your reaction to the news today?
Well, I think, first of all, he's coming from a great organization, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's where I started my NFL career. And the Rooney family and the Pittsburgh organization is a great organization, one that he got to watch operate. As to the Panthers, you know, Charlotte's a great area. The Carolinas are a fantastic place, very up and coming as far as people wanting to live there. You know, I think really probably the best thing I could say is that just kind of sit back, develop, see what those guys are doing. I'm sure they'll stand pat on, you know, who's running the organization football operations-wise and kind of figure out what kind of, you know, footprint or handprint he's going to put on it. A little bit like Jerry Richardson. Jerry was an ex-player, a longtime player in the NFL, actually caught a touchdown pass from Johnny Unitas with the Colts. And
which made him different than the other one.
Well, no doubt, he was the only one, and so he had a very close relationship with players, and it'll be interesting to see what the new owner does.
Yeah, Wood, from the players' perspective, what is that relationship like with the owner? What will this transition be like?
Well, I came from a tainted spot. You know, I was the Dallas Cowboys, so
yeah.
Jerry Jones is a little different than most. But I mean, that's
really?
the thing. But in the case around the league, that's not always the case. And if Jerry was hands-on, not only was he the owner, but he was the GM as well. He would come through the locker room a lot, talk to the players, had a great relationship with all of us on and off the field. Even today, you know, I'm doing business in Dallas, and the guy that I come to that is my mentor is Jerry Jones, and always has been. But that's not going to be the case everywhere. And I think every owner has to run the ship in a certain way, and the players will adjust to that. Jerry Richardson was the guy with the Carolina Panthers. Now new ownership comes in, and Dave Tepper. I don't know what that relationship's going to be, but he's going to build his own way with the Carolina Panthers, and the players will accept that.
It'll be interesting to hear from him. He's supposed to be a type A personality. He's a resident of Florida, not Charlotte. So I think he'll be hands-on, but I think he'll stand back and see what it's all about first.
Outspoken, maybe, you think?
He has some tendencies there.
It's possible. It's possible. The Panthers, one of 3 teams to make the playoffs in the division, only division in football to do that. Little Dez Bryant news for you today. Dez was released by the Cowboys on April 13th after 8 seasons in Dallas. Here is what his former teammate and new Monday Night Football analyst, Jason Witten, had to say on the Adam Schefter podcast about where Dez might land.
I think Dez is certainly going to have some great opportunities. He's motivated, and I think he's going to end up going to the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I think that's a great spot for him. Aaron Rodgers, he throws that back shoulder throw so well, and Dez has great chemistry with a good quarterback that can put the ball wherever he wants. You partner him up with Jimmy Graham and Aaron Rodgers, I think that offense can put up a lot of points. And losing Jordy Nelson here in the offseason when they cut him, I think it's a win-win for the Packers. I look for him to go there. I tell you, another team that he can end up going to is Drew Brees and the Saints. That's a vertical passing attack. You need somebody that can stretch the field, and that X factor, that's Dez Bryant. So I'm not certain that he goes to the Packers. I just think that's a great fit. But he's going to partner with a great quarterback and have somebody that he feels like can contend for a championship. Saints and Packers are kind of the lead dogs right now, in my opinion.
All right, so where might Dez land? You see what he's done there. Has a track record of being clutch. He has logged 16 career touchdown catches in fourth quarter or overtime of one-score games. One of only 4 guys have more touchdowns of that kind since 1970, the merger, and they are all Hall of Famers. But the Cowboys saw diminishing returns, that is, from Dez over the past 3 years, while he made an NFL-high $300,000, that sounds good, per catch. Since 2015, Dez has had the worst catch rate in the NFL in that time. Coach, you have coached against Dez as recently as what, 2016, week 3, 2016. How much does he have left in the tank, do you think?
Well, I think even though his production's dropped, Jack, I think he's still got a lot to offer. He understands NFL coverage. He understands, how to adjust. He understands NFL football and what it takes. So it doesn't surprise me what Jason Witten said about, where he might be when you pick somebody like Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees. A veteran receiver is going to want to go somewhere where he does have an experienced quarterback and one that's, got Hall of Fame type stats.
Yeah, what are you hearing? Buzz around the league, most likely landing spot, maybe where Dez will want to go or which teams want him?
I just heard Jason Witten, and it sounded like more than a guess to me when he said the Packers and the Saints. So I'm going to go with that. In other words, those places make sense. I think Jason was probably speaking with some knowledge.
Right. Yeah, listen, I look at it as Dez has to make a business decision, first of all. Wait a minute.
Is he in a position to make a business decision?
Well, I think you go where the money is at his age. I think if there's money out there, you go where the money is. I mean, that's the way I look at Dez. If not, if you're looking at 2 teams right now, if it's the Green Bay Packers or the New Orleans Saints, I don't think you find a better landing spot than the Green Bay Packers. If you feel the need where Jordy Nelson's moved on, now you leave Dez out there in one-on-one, and who else can throw a better back shoulder fade than Aaron Rodgers? And we saw that with Devontae Adams against the Cowboys last year. He can throw the perfect pass to Dez. And I think that's where Dez was at his best, when he had Tony Romo that could put the ball where he wanted it. And that was on that back shoulder fade. That's exactly what Aaron Rodgers can bring to the table. And I think it can lift Dez to that next level. If he's looking for a 1-year deal, go to Green Bay and then build off of that, because Aaron Rodgers will put him in position to make big play after big play.
Was there noticeable drop-off, Coach, when it went from Romo to Dak? Did you notice anything different from Dez? Is that why we saw some of this decline?
Well, I think a little bit of it is what happened to running back and what happened to their run game. I think everybody was better in the league when you have an established run game, and no doubt injuries had something to play with that. So that'll take anything off of your passing game. I don't care what team and what quarterback it is. So a little bit of that was inflicted by injury, and I think people will see that and understand that.
Brandon Marshall gone to New York. New York, a possibility, do you think?
I don't see it. I think there's a chemistry thing there. Nobody in the NFC East seems willing to jump out at him, which is interesting, by the way, because that's the one division that sees them twice a year. So in a way, that division's kind of saying, not for us.
Still a number 1 receiver, though, right?
Absolutely. Look, has he put up number 1 receivers in the last couple of years? No, he has not. Is he still a guy with athleticism to beat one-on-one coverage? And if you have the right situation where he's comfortable in that situation and motivated, and I think that's part of Dez. you have to take a little bit of that off the field that comes with it, as far as being late for meetings and those type of negatives, and find someone with a strong locker room presence that has a strong quarterback presence that can help him get to that next level, because it's still in him and it still burns in him. But you got to make sure you have the right people in place for him.
Yeah, but when you say put up with being late for meetings, at this stage of his career, when you hear that, that's a red flag.
That's
for
a red flag,
teams.
yeah. But at some point, most coaches feel like, I can change that guy. And, Coach, you know that better than anybody.
Exactly. And there's a reason he's still out there. I mean, some of those rumblings are probably part of that. And I'm sure, you know, as Darren mentioned, his money's always a part of it. I mean, that's part of our game. So, you know, in time, I think somebody will take a shot. And, you know, obviously he's going to have to reciprocate. And, you know, I think the quarterback thing is going to be a big factor.
All of that, absolutely true. But Dez is mad right now. Dez worked forever to get that contract. He had that contract taken away from him. Dez is mad. Do not discount that either. The Colts and the Eagles know that they have MVP caliber quarterbacks, at least in theory, but whether or not Andrew Luck and Carson Wentz will play a full schedule is still unknown. When NFL Live returns, we look at the injury timeline for some big-name quarterbacks. Plus, we've seen Tom Brady a lot this offseason, maybe too much, but not in the Pats offseason workouts. We will bring ESPN Patriots reporter Mike Reese to tell us more about what is happening in New England and the vibe in that building. And later, we continue our top 10 games of 2017. We look back at a shootout from the handful of QBs looking to bounce back from injuries, good ones too. Some notables include Andrew Luck, whose throwing shoulder kept him out of all of 2017. Carson Wentz, Deshaun Watson's season were both cut short by those knee injuries, and their teams are certainly looking forward to their return.
It's been great. I mean, everything's been really, really good, and Andrew's, you know, on the field stuff that we're doing, just footwork stuff and in the classroom stuff. It's great. I mean, he's completely engaged. It's obviously, you know, fun to work with a guy who has his football IQ, where we can go back and forth on the offense and the system. You know, everything from the physical standpoint of what he's doing off the field is going exceedingly well.
Is he doing any throwing the football stuff yet?
No, just continuing with the same process and staying patient, and it's going very well.
You know, we just continue that process, you know, and he continues to throw and get stronger. And, you know, it's a fine line, too, with just, you know, this time of year, maybe try to do too much, you know, too soon. But I'm not going to rush him out there. I don't want to expose him, you know. I mean, he'll be ready when he's ready and when we feel he's ready. So right now we're encouraged, you know, the progress he's making.
Doing a good job in his rehab. I think he's on schedule to be able to participate in training camp, and we're excited about that. And we've had a good 4-week session with him here in the off-season program, looking to continue that and finish off the off-season in a good way.
All right, welcome into the Verizon Film Room. Mort, it has been, how about this, exactly 500 days today since we have had a live game throw from Andrew Luck. Where is he, though, right now?
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. It's been exactly 500. But listen, he had surgery for that torn labrum on January 15th, 2017. That's a long time. And listen, I talked to Chris Ballard, the general manager, last night. I sensed more optimism in his voice. It wasn't just the words. His voice, he said, look, he looks great. You could tell just even on the field, he looks thicker. He's not atrophied like he was last year. He will not participate in OTAs, though, and he won't really throw football for the first time, but we'll see until training camp. But they expect him to be ready for training camp and the start of the season. And one indication is they're able to joke about it a little bit. Andrew told Ballard that, hey, I haven't felt this good since I left Stanford. That was 2011. Wow. And Ballard kind of corrected, well, you should. I mean, you haven't been hit like it.
You haven't hit, beat down, yeah.
Exactly. So, but there is optimism there. But until we see it.
And that's the question mark, is when are we going to see it? And you know, training camp is a long ways away. Oh, not that long away. I mean, we're getting there pretty close. But since December of 2016 is when we've seen Andrew Luck. And that's a long time, not only for us sitting here, but for his own players. The guys that are in that locker room, the guys that believe in him to be the leader of this organization, the coaches at the same time. I mean, he's going to have to not only get ready to play the game, but to build confidence back up and bring confidence back to his teammates as well.
no doubt that's going to take time, and they're not going to rush it. Being a coach, I mean, you're not going to expose him to things you don't need to, and you're going to try to prolong that as long as possible. In his case, he's the type of player that's going to need to be pulled in the reins on a little bit about doing too much. And the medical people, once they okay him, the coaches will be smart in what type of activity he gets. You got a lot of off season. Obviously, he's not going to have any contact for quite some time, maybe even until their first game. They may want to look at it a little bit in the preseason game.
I was going to say about preseason. Do you see him playing in preseason?
Well, it depends on where that non-contact stuff gets.
I think so.
500 is a lot of days. You got to throw it at some point, right?
Well, he's going to throw the football, but I think the plan is that he'll play some preseason games. They expect him to, but we do have to see it to believe it. I think.
Still willing to say Josh McDaniels' coaching decision nothing to do with all this? At least in the back of the mind. I mean, if you're saying that, I don't believe it. So there we go. We're now going to get into Wentz.
I think they're happy with Frank Reich right now.
Absolutely.
Fine choice.
Wentz, Carson Wentz, still coming back. Where is he?
Well, you heard Doug Peterson. That's exactly when you talk to Doug, that's what you hear. They know that Carson has an aggressive mindset. Now, he's an aggressive mindset towards rehab. And Dr. James Bradley, who's a very notable orthopedic surgeon, did the surgery. We're just about 5.5 months removed from that surgery. He had a torn ACL, torn LCL, had that repair work done. September 13th, their opener, will be exactly 9 months from his surgery. It's going to be iffy, and here's the thing they got going for him. Nick Foles. That's why they resisted those trade overtures. So I think no OTAs is what I'm told. We'll see what goes on in training camp and, preseason, but I think it's 50-50 as to whether he'll be ready on September 13th, even though he says he will be.
Yeah, well, you love the guy's confidence, and that's Carson Wentz. I mean, I saw that. We played them this year. They dismantled us 31-7 at their place. So there's no doubt, that hunger's there, and he's really bucking to get back fast. And part of that is, how good Nick did, when he went in. And I'm sure that's why the Philadelphia Eagles, and the reason why they got the hoist of Lombardi, was what he was able to do coming off the bench when Carson got injured.
Yeah, why not just wait for him to get 100%, make sure that he's fully ready, because you already know that you have in Nick Foles, and you know what level he plays in. Look, I look at Carson Wentz as, this guy's a superstar, and it easily could have been the MVP not getting hurt last year at the end of the season. So why rush him? Let him get back fully healthy. I know he's an aggressive guy, wants to get on the field. I've played with guys like this, like Troy Aikman. It doesn't matter what happens, he wants to get back on the field. Take your time with Carson Wentz, and listen, I think the proof is in the pudding. We've seen what he can do when he's fully focused and ready to go.
No doubt. Speaking of superstars on the rise, perhaps, Deshaun Watson, where is his rehabilitation process now?
Yeah, I also spoke with Bill O'Brien, the Texans coach, right before we came on air, and here's what Bill said. Look, he says he's going to have some participation in OTAs, 7-on-7 drills. They still don't want people around his feet. He's been through an ACL injury before as a freshman at Clemson on the other knee. So he knows how to rehab. He's gone about it the right way. In training camp, he will get even more work and have some teamwork there. And then it's the question, as O'Brien said, is we expect him to play the opener against the Patriots, the regular season opener. So we're going to have to play him in preseason. We're going to have to pick our spot, whether it's a little bit of week 2 and obviously week 3, but they expect him to be playing. And his injury was in early November, so he's got a better timetable here than a guy like Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I think this is exciting. This is an exciting time for the Houston Texans, who've been, they've been dry at that quarterback position for a long time. We saw last year how he just brought life to that organization, both offensively and defensively. Not only did he get Deshaun back, he get J.J. Watt back on the other side. And they're playing in a division that we've been talking about in last year. Jacksonville's a better team. Right. Tennessee Titans were in the playoffs last year. If they don't have Deshaun Watson early in this season, then they could be in trouble. I think they need to get off to a fast start.
I think J.J. Watt's a bigger question than Deshaun for the start of the season.
But how much of a rush? This is not like the Wentz deal here. How much of a rush is it to get Watson back knowing that spark?
Well, he's got a little bit longer time in the rehab. Mort made reference to as far as when the injury occurred.
Yep.
But really both of them are going to have portions of that offense where they utilize the quarterback's feet. So I'm talking about as far as running the ball. They're going to stay away from that, trust me, in the preseason and the offseason, even at the beginning of the season. But they're going to lean on both of those dimensions from both those quarterbacks. So they're not going to be a big rush until the regular season starts.
These guys have all been stars. It's as simple as that. Young stars. Look at what they've done. Special careers already. Luck's 132 touchdown passes are the third most ever by a player in his first 5 seasons. Carson Wentz broke the Eagles' single-season record for passing touchdowns last year. And when Deshaun Watson, when he was out there, before he went down, he was leading the NFL in offensive touchdowns, QBR, and scramble yards. Unbelievable.
Tom takes the snap. He loads up. He throws deep downfield. Gronk is there at the goal line. Ball is up in the air. Batted around. And it's incomplete.
Definitely going to look at my future. We'll sit down the next couple of weeks and see where I'm at.
It's my sincere pleasure to welcome and introduce the head coach of the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia.
New England lost a ton of guys in free agency. Nate Solder, Dion Lewis, and Malcolm Butler, and Danny Amendola.
Well, we lost several players in free agency. That's the NFL.
The so-called tension gets greater when you lose.
Patriots tight end Rob Gronkowski has announced via Instagram that he is returning to play next season.
I have personal goals. I want to keep playing. You know, I've said for a long time I want to play to my mid-40s.
Tom Brady has typically been a participant in the Patriots' voluntary offseason workout program, but this year he has been working out on his own. The Pats offseason workout program began April 16th. Looking ahead, the Pats voluntary OTAs kick off next Monday, and mandatory minicamp begins on June 5th. We now welcome in our ESPN Patriots reporter, Mike Reese. Mike, how much of this can we attribute to going away from the Patriot way? We're just going to outwork you. How much of Brady's absence is lost in that?
Well, Jack, the first word that anyone always mentions when this topic comes up is don't forget it's voluntary. We're talking about voluntary workouts, but there are two words that sort of tie together here with this situation, and it's culture and leadership. And let me explain. The culture, this is Bill Belichick's 19th year as Patriots head coach, and as part of the winning culture he's established here, this offseason program has been a big part of it. This team traditionally has very close to 100% attendance in their offseason program, and that brings us to the leadership part of it. Tom Brady's the unquestioned leader of this team. He has usually been at this program, so you sort of lose that leadership as part of supporting the culture that Bill Belichick has established here over 19 years. Robert Kraft saying back in 2010 when Tom Brady wasn't here for the first week, he said, this guy's one of the most unique leaders in all of sports. We want him here because when he's here, everyone is better.
So what is then the vibe in the building given that he has not been there?
Well, offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels said a few days ago that he respects the decision that any player makes. In this case, Tom Brady, and Rob Gronkowski also isn't here for the voluntary workouts. And he said, look, we respect it. It's a family decision. We know he's going to come back in good shape. But he said selfishly, from a coaching standpoint, we'd love all the players here because the coaches, that's when it's the most fun, McDaniels said, to get out on the field and work with the players.
So if Brady is going to play until he's 45 years old, let's say, is it your feeling that this is how it's going to be moving forward?
Well, Jack, it's always tough to predict that stuff, but one of the things that Brady did say when he explained this decision to not be here was that it was for his family, the idea that he wants to fill his bucket. And his feeling is that when he does step back into this building, he'll be rejuvenated and will be a better teammate. He has 3 kids. They're 10, 8, and 5. They're not getting any younger. He wants to spend time with them. So this could indeed be a shift here in the last part of his career that see how this approach works. If it goes well for him this year, maybe it does indeed continue.
Thank you, Mike. Great work as always. We'll turn now to our crew. Wood, Mort, Coach. How much of this, now Mort, let me simplify. How much can we put on this happy wife, happy life?
Well, I think there's something to that. And I think Tom is serious about his family being a bigger part of his life during this time of the year. We know he's going to take care of himself physically. Now, something about this feels different because it is different. But remember, this is a guy, and I remember even back in 2005 when they won back-to-back Super Bowls, he talked about how many games they played. And he counted preseason games because Belichick, as you know, those preseason games are he works those guys. They play a little bit longer. They play in the last preseason game, unlike most teams. So I think taking that break, it isn't just a physical break. It's probably a mental break. We'll see what happens, though, as we go forward. We'll talk about that.
Coach, do you worry about them losing that gym rat mentality with Brady's absence?
Well, there's no doubt that that culture in that building is about outworking the opponent. And that works. I mean, you can't argue their success. And this game's only fun when you win. I can promise you, you mentioned an excerpt there from Josh McDaniels that, hey, look, I had Peyton Manning and like Tom Brady. When they're in the building, that raises all boats. There's no doubt that that makes everybody in that building better. Will they miss that? Sure they will. But on the other end of that is there's no more important muscle in your body than your brain. And when that shuts down, it all shuts down. So it's a balancing act there of a guy that's been in lots of Super Bowls, lots of postseasons, extremely long seasons, that he needs a break. And he's going to be way more valuable to the Patriots if he's fresh-minded when he does report.
Wood, how does the rest of the team then? How's the crew? How's the guys? How do they look at this?
Well, look, I think Tom Brady's been a model of consistency throughout his career, and he sets the tone for the offseason workouts. There's got to be more to this than what we're talking about, because
Than Giselle?
Just the
kids.
Deal, because this is what he is. He's a football player first. He's a family man, but he's a football player, and he's always set the tone in their offseason programs. When he shows up, everyone shows up, and he holds everyone accountable. That's Tom Brady. So for him not to show up, that's one thing. If he does not show up for the OTAs next week, there's a problem. There's a major problem.
That's when I'm going to pay even closer attention. If he's not at OTAs, I think that's a problem. Obviously, they have a mandatory minicamp in June, but if we have to wait till June before he shows up, this is going to be a much greater discussion. So I agree. There's an undercurrent of something else going on, but for right now, you give him his break.
Yeah. Animosity? You guys both seem to think. Just a touch.
Even Robert Kraft acknowledged tension, even though he put it in a different category. And we know that there's been a lot of reports about the tension, including our own Seth Wickersham had reported on it. But despite their unhappiness with those reports, there seems to be something there. But right now, I think you have to take it on face value that Tom wants just more time with his family. Yeah. If he's not there next Monday, I agree with you, Woody.
How would you handle this with your players, and veterans specific?
I agree with that. I think, when you saw Robert Kraft say that, I think there was a lot of facetiousness in that statement. I think he was saying that kind of joking.
So you don't think there was any tension?
No, I really don't think there is.
Oh, come on, Coach.
Okay, look, guys.
I like it already, baby. Let's go.
Really, the way it works is they work hard. There's no doubt. And does that grind on you? Yeah. When you're playing 5 and 6 more weeks of a season every year, they mentioned the 19 years. This is the epitome of winning. And it comes with a lot of sacrifices and a lot of hard work, and I think they've put it in. Now, does Tom Brady deserve a little break? Yeah. I believe he will be there for OTAs, and he will be there for real football. Right now, they're conditioning and doing chalkboard stuff, and I think he's earned it.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. Look, he's going to be there for the season. That's no doubt about it. Tom Brady's going to be playing this season. But there's got to be a little undercurrent of something going on here, because he's a guy that and you talk to Teddy Bruschi, and you talk to anyone within that organization. And I played with Bill Belichick's mentor, Bill Parcells. Right. And it was always, it's voluntary, but it's voluntary mandatory. Yes. So you voluntarily mandatory stay here in the offseason program, and you're here. And that's been the way their culture has been for a long time. So it's unusual for him not to be there, because you've always accepted the norm that he was always going to be there for training camp.
Do you believe Belichick wanted Garoppolo? Do you think
that's hard to predict? I think I don't know why the sudden change of heart. Because I know earlier there was a lot of discussions. I don't really know. I've not researched it very hard at this point, so I can't honestly answer that. But really, when it gets down to it, you talk about Gronkowski and Brady aren't at the OT or the off season right now. There is a certain line there that you want those guys to get fresh and mentally and physically, so that you can have them for when it really counts.
All I know is that, look, he looks great for a 40-year-old. I'm talking about Brady, and he'll come in great shape. We'll see what happens if he doesn't show up for OTAs in terms of where we take the conversation then. But as far as I'm concerned, they're playing in the AFC Championship game every year, or the Super Bowl. That's what it feels like. That's a lot of games, and taking a break right now and still staying in shape, no big deal this week.
Next year, no different in terms of AFC Championship game, Super Bowl. How's this team look?
Where's the challenge coming from?
I hear you. They're in it again. They're going to be in it again.
Yep.
Well, no, I know the AFC, but right now in the NFC, it's a much more challenging road.
You got to get to the rest of this article. The full Mike Reese breakdown of the Patriots right now on ESPN.com. Get there, get the details on the entire thing. We will be back here on NFL.
The biggest matchup in the NFL.
This will be a great game.
They're going to get one more chance. He's going to throw.
Jimmy Graham, touchdown, Seahawks.
Garrett throws for the end zone, and it is oh! And I think this time it counts.
Throws left side of the end zone. Leaping grab. Davante Adams.
Yes!
Touchdown, Green Bay.
Who doesn't love a snow game?
McCoy waits patiently. Shady's going to score. Shady's going to score. Touchdown! Touchdown, Buffalo!
You can't write a script like that.
Roethlisberger throws over the middle. It is caught by Jesse James.
The ball moved laterally.
It's an incomplete pass.
Case on a deep drop. He'll fire to the right side. Caught by Diggs.
Welcome back to NFL Live. All week we are counting down the top 10 games of 2017. Here's our top 10 so far. Number 10 was the Packers-Cowboys, week 3. Number 9, Colts-Bills, believe it or not, week 14. And now to number 8 we go. Take a look at this one. Thursday Night Football, if you can believe it. This is week 3. We got Rams and 49ers. You see Goff there getting warmed up, getting the hair right. I respect it. Take a look here. Early in the game.
Go get that. Go get it.
And go get it.
You know,
He did.
sometimes you like to see a DB make a play because it's always the opposite side.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Robert Cole make the play, man.
Nobody cared about this game.
Here we go. You know the name, Gurley, into the end zone for the first score of the game. That was quick, man. That was a quick score. 7-7 now. Goff, back to Gurley.
That's a bust.
Yeah.
Somebody gets you on the flat.
That flat defender sleeping.
What's that, the flat defender? Who's that?
We're going to break down every
Point at
play.
somebody.
Yes,
let's get on somebody. What do you think?
Look.
17-13 now. Goff goes back to the man. It's Gurley out the outside, and did he get it?
Yeah,
Coach, no defense. No defense, sorry.
You got to contain that thing right there.
Hey, what do you coach on reaching the ball like that? Fair game?
Well, what's it? It looked like a possible knee injury at the end of that.
That's a cool question.
Fair game on reaching the ball? I guess so. Here we go. Goff back to the air. Looking deep. Sammy. Oh, one of the great catches in football. Looking back over the shoulder, Sammy Watkins.
Oh, this is a nice grab. That is beautiful.
Can't guard
great
that.
coverage. You just can't. I mean, you're dying.
Back to the air we go. Goff, 33-20 game. On to the fourth quarter. Now 34-26. Back to Goff. Goff back to Watkins. Watkins reaching again. You get that thing across.
Now, did he get in?
We'll see him.
No, he didn't.
Reaching, turning. The ball's moving.
Yeah, he's in there.
He's still on top of those bodies too, right?
Yes.
6.
Nice play, man.
6. Don't call it a comeback, they say. Hoyer, here we go. Little play action. And looking right, he does for 6. Now the score will move to, what would that be? 33, 41, 33. 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Fumble, I remember that.
Fumble!
Big play. Big play. That's why special teams are so, I mean, we forget about special teams as being that third part of the game that you need. Look at that.
Yeah, how's your backfield now?
Not good. Not good.
2 minutes left now. To the ground they go. And into the end zone they go. Now we have a one-possession game. Field goal game. Can Hoyer do it? 2-13. Here we go. Looking left, and that is picked.
Play. What a play.
Dude, who thought Thursday Night Football? Look at this Thursday Night Football game. This is out of control. 2-13 onside kick. That went up into the air. Recovered by the San Francisco 49ers. All they need is a field goal. That's how you kick it.
Oh, I mean, how about blocking in front of the guy? I mean, Coach,
He might have been a little early.
Under 2 minutes to go. Flag down. Was that offensive? We got a little push off here.
It's about time. See, there we go. Hey, there we go.
It's a little
great call. No, great call.
Yeah.
What do you think? Too soft on that call? Yeah, he thinks so.
Let him play football. Let's go.
1:49 left. Hoyer goes down.
Grown
you know the name.
Man. That is a grown man right there in Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald with the sack when they needed it the most.
Yes.
Here we go. 1:44 left now, and that would not be enough.
Here's the thing about it.
Nobody
Nobody cared about that game in week 3. That's the significance of what we're talking about, because nobody cared.
Right.
We didn't care until what? later in the year.
Season, yeah.
Later in the year. Because those two teams, we didn't consider them relevant. But guess what? They became relevant as the season went on.
You know what I liked about that game at the end, very end of that game? The guy who's a superstar on the defensive line, Aaron Donald, makes the play to close it out. There's a reason why the guy needs to get paid. That is the reason. We just saw the reason why Aaron Donald needs to be the highest paid defensive tackle in the league.
And he will be.
Games.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Who's the best defensive player in football?
He's one of them.
He's on that list.
He's absolutely.
Well, you'd put him and then the guy he drafted in Denver, Von Miller.
Von Miller, there, yeah.
Von's in the
right there in that discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
And John, he's got a little
Kuechly's in
partner
there.
this year too.
Oh yeah, Luke's in there.
What about the quarterbacks in this game moving forward? Now we're going to have Garoppolo. We're going to have Goff coming back again. Are we looking at one of the great rivalries for years to come in football developing here between Rams and 49ers?
Well, I think that was one of the best stories in the league last year when Jimmy came in for the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers were looked at as one of the worst teams in football up until that point. Even after that showing, which that showed promise. But I think he finished the season 5-0 in his 5 starts, and I think they've added some weapons for him, and that division should get interesting.
Who would you rather coach at this point between those two teams? Rams,
the Rams for sure. I think the Rams definitely got better this offseason. Look at the additions they made on offense. Even they lost Sammy, but they brought in Cooks. I think Sean does a great job offensively. Wade, obviously, Phillips does a great job, their defensive coordinator on defense, and they've signed some guys that are going to help them, and I think Wade will handle those personalities.
Let's play. We'll let you play owner here for a second.
Oh, really? I get to play owner. Oh, really? I like this game.
You got $11 billion right now. That's a good feeling.
He wants those dividends.
Yes, you better believe it. So I'll give you Shanahan or Garoppolo, McVay or Goff. How would you evaluate that decision?
Man, I would. Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I would say McVay and Goff. Because look, I know we can't bring in personnel that's around them and all, but we saw Jared Goff go through what he went through in his rookie year. Sean McVay gets there in his second year and lifts his game, and not only lifts his game, but brings confidence and life to this organization. And it started with the quarterback position, and that's why I think they have so much to build on. Well, I think they're just scratching the surface. The personnel is getting there. Jared Goff has got better week in and week out last year, and I think it's attributed to where Sean McVay is.
But you can't ignore the personnel because I think there's a sense inside this league that Jimmy Garoppolo will be better than Jared Goff eventually with the multiple things he can do, even athletically. But let's face it, when you got Todd Gurley, and I thought the way Sean McVay deployed Todd Gurley last year, it helped the quarterback, not only in the running game, in the passing game, and all the weapons there. So you could say, okay, McVay and Goff an edge now, but I think there's a sense that Garoppolo is going to be special, and Kyle Shanahan is a proven commodity.
And on top of that, I think people lose sight of, too, that offensive line now grew and got better. And that was able to open up that running game. And don't forget, you do got to protect for any quarterback. And I thought that was a big area of improvement that team made a season ago.
Yeah, the Rams, and having Andrew Whitworth, they brought him in from Cincinnati.
Huge.
At left tackle. How many years does he have left? Well, he was still playing at a high Pro Bowl caliber last year. So
he changes that offensive line room.
But what's interesting is this division. All we used to talk about was Seattle and Arizona. Well, guess what? Arizona, that's why they went out and drafted a quarterback, Josh Rosen, this year, because they're Seattle with Russell Wilson, still young, and now you got Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco, and you got Jared Goff in Los Angeles. So the Cardinals are the ones that feel like they're playing catch-up all of a sudden.
Yeah, I like the fact of how this rivalry has been, because you just said it. Seattle's been the most dominant team now. The Rams are there now. Now you're seeing San Francisco, who I would have said, well, they're about 2 or 3 years out. Now, they're going to be in the mix this year. They're going to be competitive this year. You got to give John Lynch, Shanahan, and the rest of the crew a lot of credit for where they are right now.
And the Seahawks roster makeover and a coaching staff makeover. So it's interesting that all of a sudden these are the two teams, 49ers and Rams, that we expect to contend in that division.
Good division.
Okay, with everything Rosen's been saying, he's been out, he's been speaking a whole lot. Would you address that, given the way how outspoken he's been since the draft?
Yeah, I think they learn. What I mean? Rookies are learning every single day, every single interview, every single second, and it's just the way it is when you first come in the league. They're going to make mistakes. They'll make some more.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, you're a natural at this thing. Coach Fox, our new coach here on NFL Live. And when we come back, he will tell us the challenges for the 7 men who become new head coaches in the NFL this offseason. We'll do that next. there will be 7 new head coaches in the NFL this year, which is just about the norm these days, believe it or not, for the NFL. We're here with our new head coach right now, John Fox. So, Coach, the Cardinals and the Bears start OTAs today. Let's start with your former team in Chicago. What's the best asset for Coach Nagy that he has to work with this year?
Well, I think, he's an offensive-minded coach. He did a wonderful job in Kansas City with that offense, and that's where the help's needed at the Bears, is better in that offense. I think the asset is the added weapons. You look at Allen Robinson, Trey Burton, the list goes on, but their challenge will be their passing game. That's where they were deficient last year, and that'll be, how fast they can adjust.
What about the biggest challenge? What's the hardest thing he's going to have to face?
Just getting all those pieces in place, to be more efficient in the passing game. Young quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, how efficient he's going to be, how fast he can get used to those pieces.
We'll get you now to Coach Wilks, who, of course, has taken over in Arizona. What is his best asset?
Well, I think, defensive-minded coach, came from a great defense in Carolina. I think they've got good defensive personnel there at the Cardinals. They've got good players at each level, whether you're talking Patrick Peterson on the back end or Chandler Jones up front. And, I think, building on that defense, that's kind of what's going to have to carry them. The biggest challenge is going to be the quarterback position, sorting that out. They got some veteran help. They have struggled on offense, and, not turning the ball over is going to be critical for them.
Frank Reich in Indianapolis, how about the best asset for that crew? Probably getting Luck back would be a good start.
Yeah, I think getting a healthy Andrew Luck, I think they've got some weapons on offense. And, Frank's a very, very good offensive football coach. I think, that's going to be the challenge, but it's also will be a little bit of the part of the asset as well.
So biggest challenge, do you have a challenge beyond that, or that's kind of, you got to get Luck back.
Ian Chris Ballard is putting together that defense. And again, I'm not banging on those guys, but that's where their improvement, has to happen. And, I think their draft will help them, and their free agency acquisitions has helped them.
We will head to Detroit now. How about for the ex-New England Patriot defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, biggest asset he has to work with?
Well, Matthew Stafford at quarterback. I think that passing game. Jim Bob Cooter actually coached for me in Denver. Is an outstanding offensive mind. They're really prolific on offense. They've got to get better at running the ball, kind of get more of a balanced attack. Biggest challenge is going to be defense. Because that's Matt's forte. Not Matt Forte, but Matt's forte. He's a defensive coach and done a great job over the years as a defensive coordinator.
Matt Forte was pretty good, too.
Him too.
We'll get to the Shermer now with the New York Giants. What about the biggest asset there in the Big Apple?
Well, Pat's been a head coach. He was head coach at Cleveland. He's had that experience. Didn't go as well as, most people want, but you learn from those mistakes. I think their asset, I think offensively they're pretty good. They have weapons. They've got to get more solid in their offensive line. They've worked on that in the offseason, and adding the run game will help as well. It's going to be that defense. I think they have the personnel. They dropped off, had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball last year, and I really think that's going to be their challenge, is playing better defense.
Yep, that's the challenge, no question about it. How about Vrabel in Tennessee? A lot of New England minds in that division. Biggest asset he has?
Well, I'm going to say, he's got a playoff team. He's one guy that overtook a playoff team, and actually a team that won a game in the playoffs against Kansas City Chiefs. So, that's the good thing for them. I think the challenge is going to be taking Marcus Mariota to another level. I think that was a frustration for why they made a change, and that'll be the biggest challenge.
How about our old man on Monday Night Football? John Gruden takes over with the Raiders. What about the biggest asset out there in Oakland and then eventually in Vegas?
Well, I think, John's got the opportunity, all right, to pull a Bill Parcells. And that is, if I'm going to be the chef, I want to shop for the groceries. He's got total control. And, I think that's really key. There's one vision and one mind making all that. And, I think that's big in a football organization. I think challenge both sides. I think they got the defense, they got to get rolling, but also their offense has got to play better. They had better personnel than what their offense performed at, and John Gruden will do a great job of that.
Well, how much of a challenge will the coaching in the new age, social media, all the things that come with today's NFL, do you see that as much of a challenge for Gruden?
Yeah, I think there'll be some adjustment to that. Yeah. But, you're still, the essence of football has not changed. Yeah. And John Gruden understands that. And he's a very good technical coach as well as a hell of a football coach.
Yeah, leader of men, too.
No doubt.
How about the most likely of these new coaches to make the playoffs this year, do you think?
Well, I'm going to say Vrabel in Tennessee. You know, that was a playoff team, but they did win a playoff game. So I just think that organization was looking to take the next step. And that one's probably the most ripe to make another playoff run.
Mm-hmm. Last year was the first time 3 new head coaches reached the postseason since 2008. How about that? Since 2008, that was the first time. Coming up, we continue our countdown of the top 10 games of 2017. We dive into the AFC North battle unlike any other. We'll do it after this.
Oh, man, he just a true leader, a guy that you know could play the game at the highest level, makes big plays, and people fed off of him. This team fed off of Ryan Shazier.
It's just impact. I mean, he was unbelievable speed. I mean, the whole thing, right? You got to miss that.
Yeah, he's sideline to sideline. Our offense, we lined up to play him early in the season, and our offense was scared to death of him, just to be able to get to him.
Le'Veon Bell with the touchdown. That gets to the third quarter. This game was unbelievable. 2017 now. 5 minutes and 24 seconds. Up the middle they go. Love a fullback. Love a fullback. Allen dishes it. Give it to the whole offensive line.
There you go. That's what a fullback running back should do. Give it to the whole line to spike it.
And you know what? A fullback maybe should spike it.
Yes, sir.
A fullback maybe should spike it.
We earned that. Yeah, you're right.
24-20 at this point. 2nd and 9. Mike Wallace thinks he had it. So did Mike Mitchell. Neither do. Take another look.
Oh, that's some hand fighting there, bro.
What do you think?
Look, hey, look.
Flag?
Hey, no, come on, man. Stop calling. You know what? He's such an offensive mind.
Look.
Oh, was
look.
Not. I mean, it shouldn't have been a flag.
Hey, I got a little insider trading here. Here goes Flacco. Gets it out to the flat. Oh, let's go fullbacks, baby. It is a fullback day. This rivalry's all about that.
Well, somebody didn't get out to the flat.
He knows the flat.
Yeah.
10 minutes left. 4th quarter now. Big Ben.
That's a dart.
Guns it. AB doing AB things.
Yeah, look.
He might have been banged up in this game, too.
Yeah, top 3 receiver in the league, man. Yeah. Hands down.
He may be number 1.
He may be.
He may be number 1.
My vote.
I'm with you, Coach Fox. Now 9 minutes left in the game.
Special.
Big Ben. Looking around. Don't tell me it's a fullback.
That is a grab. Another fullback. With that grab.
Look at Knicks. Look at Knicks.
Wow.
You know what that defensive meeting room's like after a fullback beats you on a play? Not good.
Relentless.
You know what that offensive meeting room's like? It's probably pretty good. Here we go. 1st and goal. And into the end zone goes Allen. A little sauce at the end of it. Now 3 minutes left in the game. You guys remember this game?
Yes.
Yeah.
38-29.
You always watch these guys play, Ravens and Steelers.
Mm-hmm. Should this man get paid already or what?
Yes. Come on, man.
Why
are we taking so long to pay this man?
Running back position. That's the only. That's
You got $11 billion, you pay him.
Now 1 minute left in the game. 3rd and 5. Big Ben. Who else? Who else? AB.
Out there stealing. Out there just stealing in one-on-one coverage. You may want to help your guy out a little bit. You know, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. On AB, you're saying?
Yes.
You better believe it. Let's see what the Pittsburgh Steelers can do. 44 seconds left in the game, and bang, 39-38. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown. I mean, this dude was all guts in this game. 39-38 now, 16 seconds left. Flacco, let's see what he has left in the tank. No Lamar Jackson right there. That ball goes out of bounds, and it is Watt on the stop. That dude's turning into a star.
Yes, isn't he? But it's about Ryan Shazier, man. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. You could honestly, you could notice that team defensively. They just feel so different towards the end of the year when Shazier was not in that mix. On the field, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Off the field, we all know who he is, but on the field.
On the field, he's a special talent. And I know that, what's happened, and we have our hearts go out to the Shazier family and all, but he's a great football player. I remember watching him in college get sideline to sideline, and his game transitioned to the NFL like none other. He was the same way. He's hungry. He wants to get there, and he's a guy that's the ultimate competitor. So when you saw him out on the field, and I played with great defensive players, and Deion Sanders and Charles Haley, when your good ones are out there and they're motivated to play the game at a high level, you feed off of that. You feed off that energy, and that's what Ryan Shazier brought. He brought energy to this defense.
But for the Steelers to get there, and I mean get there, is get past New England in the AFC, they need that defense to step up. And some people were surprised when they picked, with their first-round draft pick this year, Terrell Edmunds, Virginia Tech safety. He was kind of projected as a second-rounder, but he played most of his last year at Virginia Tech with a shoulder injury, really playing with one shoulder. Now, Kevin Colbert, the general manager there, was actually a scout in Miami when they drafted Terrell Edmunds' dad. That was Farrell Edmunds. And so here's Farrell Edmunds, the father of 2 first-round picks, one being Tremaine Edwards, who went to the Bills, and then Terrell Edwards, who can play both safety spots. And Mike Tomlin is a great communicator, can play nickel linebacker. So he's going to fill some of that void left by Shazier, they hope.
Is that defense, you think, close enough that a first-round pick could get them over the top? We know what the offense is, right?
You know, I think there's still some question marks, I think. You know, they've got a very, very good football team. I think 10 Pro Bowlers a year ago, most in the National Football League. But, you know, again, I know Mike Tomlin does a great job. And, you know, they still got some additions to put on that defense, you know, where there's still some claiming time and there's still some good free agents out there that we saw at the beginning of the piece.
No doubt. If they fix the secondary, listen, that's one of the best teams in football.
You know what? I don't think it's just about the secondary. Let's just be honest. I think it's about the chemistry of this organization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this offseason, you hear Ben make comments again, and it's like every year we hear the same thing. And you and I just talked about it. It's every year you hear your starting quarterback make comments in the offseason. And I think it has something to do with the organization as a whole, the chemistry of the players in that within that organization, because the personnel is there. The personnel is right for them to win a championship. It's just something that's burning inside that locker room that doesn't feel like they're a team that's playing all together as one.
That's a challenge for Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
I mean, and listen, as a head coach, I think that's his big challenge, to bring that chemistry together. You know, Ben, you know, has a new offensive coordinator now. Todd Haley's on his way to Cleveland. So we'll see how this plays out. But there aren't many teams in the AFC that you say they got the talent to go beat the Patriots. This is one of those teams.
Would you have issue with what Big Ben said when you draft a quarterback in the 3rd round? How do you go about handling that?
I think as a head coach, you know, you'd rather keep those things in-house. I don't think you want things to be floated out in public. You know, but in defensive end, he was on a radio show. Sometimes it could have been a buddy. You let your guard down a little bit. You say something you shouldn't say. But I'm sure that'll get it worked out just fine. And hey, really, when it comes down to rookies coming in the building, I don't care what position, whether it's quarterback or any other position, you know, they need to model themselves after the vets anyways.
Well, Ben can blame himself in a way because, yeah, 3rd rounders usually become starting players, but they've heard Ben talk retirement the last couple of years. Kind of like when Green Bay, when Brett Favre kept talking retirement, they finally said, okay, here's Aaron Rodgers, we'll take him. John Elway didn't like when they drafted Tommy Maddox. So, by the way, he was right. You know, why not help the team since we're so close to being a Super Bowl caliber team? But, yeah.
And I'm telling you, that window of opportunity, I've seen it before. I played it with the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. That window of opportunity is so close. I mean, it's like you got a window now with all the personnel they have, but then with age coming, that window closes really quick. And right now, Ben has Antonio Brown and all the weapons at his disposal offensively to win a championship.
Good offensive line.
Great offensive line. They need to win a championship this year. It can't be, you know, thinking in the future. It's got to be this year.
And Rudolph very well may have the keys to the Bentley over there once.
I wouldn't expect that too soon.
How soon?
4 years?
4 years.
Unless Ben retires after this year.
Well, he's retiring every year now, so we're still not sure yet.
I hear you. What about with the Baltimore Ravens? Probably best to go to you here, Coach. How would you, when you have Flacco, he's been there forever, Lamar Jackson, how do you handle that situation?
Well, I think they're completely different as far as style of play. You know, we had a similar situation early on with Tim Tebow in Denver. We kind of had that offense in, whether it was 3rd down or short yardage, you know, just something to bring a young player along. And then as it went, we weren't succeeding very well with the quarterback playing, and we made that change full time and went to that offense and actually made the playoffs and actually won a playoff game. So, you know, I think they're, from an opportunity standpoint, they may try to build some kind of offense for Lamar. I don't know that yet. I'm not in their meetings, but that's a possibility. But as far as a rookie coming in, I mean, you know, he's going to go in there. He's going to learn from Joe, you know, and just model himself after his work habits and his study habits.
He's got to transition. They have a small package they'll have for him, no doubt about it. Marty Morningwig did it with Michael Vick in Philadelphia. But Lamar's got a learning curve. He will be on some SportsCenter highlights, though, when he is out there.
That's for sure. That's for sure. What a division that has been, continues to be there with Pitt, Bengals, Ravens. It's always a battle. I'll tell you what, the Browns, they're starting to do this. Yeah. They're starting to come up in that thing, too. John Elway says, I think so. Says the Chargers might be the team to beat in the AFC West. When we return, we will take you through the Wild West, we call it. See which bandwagon we want to get on when we come back. that. So I like what we're doing here. We got the whole Wild West thing.
Yes.
Thanks to Elway
Like
for bringing
that,
this in. So we're going to do this whole thing. So in an offensive shootout, we're saying, who are you going to go with?
In an offensive shootout. I mean, it's some great ones. I love Mahomes over here, but at the same time, I'm looking at longevity at the quarterback position and the body of work. I have to go with Phillip Rivers and the San Diego Chargers. And when you look how they're built offensively, they have weapons on the outside. Keenan Allen's on one side. Melvin Gordon, who's a touchdown machine. And right now in this division, the best quarterback in the division, of course, I think is Phillip Rivers and has been for the longest time. He has enough weapons around him to make big play after big play. And we saw this at the end of the season last year. No one wanted to see the San Diego Chargers. They got hot. Melvin Gordon got hot. And this team led by Phillip Rivers is due. They're due to win the AFC West.
Yeah, I agree totally. I think, they've stayed constant in their coaching staff. I think they did start the season 0-4 and then went 9-3 in the last part of the season. So, I do think that's probably the most cohesive and ready to win team there is in the division.
We're going to keep this thing rolling. Why not? Which team most likely to stampede, if you had to choose, stampede a quarterback? Who would you go with?
Well, I got to go with my Denver Broncos.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna let you pick.
I'm
not quite ready for the touchscreen yet.
Yeah.
I think when they were sitting there at number 5 in the draft and they saw what Cleveland did, I know we had John Elway's quote up here. I know he wasn't moving out of that spot to select Bradley Chubb to go along the other side with Von Miller. So the best pass defense in the world is a pass rush. I know my team, San Diego's close out there with Ingram and Bosa, but to me, that's the defense right there.
And I see we're doing the bandwagon as we do the stampede.
Yeah,
there's the stampede.
Yeah,
there's the stampede.
It's right there. There's
Okay, we got plenty of Wild West stuff for you.
But this is, I agree with you, Coach. I think the one thing that
same 4 teams
about this is that the Denver Broncos, the vogue right now in the league is pass rush. We saw Philadelphia come in with depth. They bring waves at you as far as pass rush. Shane Ray, we keep on forgetting about him as an outside linebacker. To go along with Von Miller, now you bring in Bradley Chubb. You have the NASCAR package. If he gets you in 3rd and long, that pass rush can be devastating, and I think Bradley Chubb is going to bring something to this organization.
Best pass rush in the league right there we're looking at, Denver?
It'd be in the discussion for sure. If not the best.
Okay, now we're to the bandwagon. Now we're to the bandwagon portion of the afternoon. Who you guys going to roll with this year?
I can tell you who I'm going with, Coach. I don't know about you. Go ahead, Coach. Your first show. Who you got?
Well, because I think it's the combination. But I got to go back with the Chargers only because, I think the combination. We already talked about the offensive side. But they do have that pass rush outside, and that defense is just going to get better in year 2 of that system.
There you go. I mean, what a division. What a division it is turning it into, especially defensively. We'll now welcome in Mort over on the other side of the studio. Mort, what are we talking about here?
Yeah,
we
I had
talked about some John Gruden stuff, too. Maybe we'll get your idea, too. Who are you bandwagon with?
Well, as Foxy said earlier, I had a chance to talk to Chucky, or John Gruden, I mean, last week. Listen, obviously, he's excited about the fact that he likes the quarterback, Derek Carr. He thinks this is a smart team. Needs to get Amari Cooper back on track. Excited about having a guy like Martavis Bryant stretch the field, and Jordy Nelson. He says you can tell what a pro he is. But their offensive line is key. They drafted in the first round Colton Miller for left tackle out of UCLA. Tom Cable's their line coach, but it's the right tackle, Brandon Parker, out of North Carolina A&T, that they're both happy with. Gruden said it's possible, it's not a lock yet, that they could start with 2 rookie tackles, and that would mean they felt good about it. So they've invested there, and then getting everybody else on track. And just the fact that he thinks he has a smart team, I could hear the optimism in John's voice.
Thank you, Mort. Still to come here on NFL Live, a stud turned Pro Bowler, Division II championship quarterback. How about this? This is what we have coming up. Division II championship quarterback. He signed with the Rams, and this story is unbelievable. Walk on making the team. Let's do it next.